All right, let's get right into it. If you're in the InfoSec world, you already know ISO 27001 is way more than just a piece of paper you hang on the wall. So today, we're going to deconstruct the latest 2022 standard. We're going way beyond the simple checklist to really get at the strategic thinking that makes this whole framework tick. You know, the standard itself basically throws down the gauntlet right in the introduction. It says this isn't some IT project or a technical to-do list. Nope, it's a high-level strategic business decision. And that one idea, that security is a core business function, is going to be a theme we come back to again and again. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the heavy hitters who actually create these standards. Then we'll dive into the real purpose of 27001 and what makes it so strategic. After that, we'll talk about how it plays nice with other systems, and we'll wrap up with what's new and different in this 2022 edition. Okay, first things first. Let's talk about the architects here, ISO and the IEC. Because to really feel the weight of this document, you've got to understand who's behind it and the global authority they carry. So this standard is a team effort between two absolute giants. ISO, the International Organization for Standardization, and the IEC, the International Electrotechnical Commission. But what's so important to get is that this isn't some decree from on high. It's a massive collaboration where member countries from all over the world get a seat at the table. That ensures the final standard is actually relevant and works in the real world. And if you zoom in even closer, the standard was put together by a super specialized crew. Joint Technical Committee 1, Subcommittee 27. I mean, these folks live and breathe this stuff. Their entire focus is information security, cybersecurity, and privacy. That kind of deep expertise is baked into every single line of this document. All right, so we've established who wrote it, but what is ISO 27001 actually for? Well, it all boils down to one key concept, the Information Security Management System, or ISMS. Now, this is maybe the most important thing to get. ISO 27001 is not about a one-and-done project. It defines a whole life cycle. The standard gives you the requirements for everything, from the initial setup and rollout to the day-to-day maintenance and, this is the big one, continual improvement. It's designed to be a living, breathing system inside your organization. So what is this system fundamentally trying to protect? It all comes back to the classic CIA triad. First, confidentiality, keeping secrets secret. Then, integrity, making sure your data is accurate and trustworthy. And finally, availability, ensuring you can get to your information when you need it. Every single control in an ISMS is there to protect one or more of these three pillars. And how does it protect the CIA triad? Well, the engine that drives the whole ISMS is a formal risk management process. Look, the goal isn't to get rid of all risk, because that's impossible. The point is to systematically find, analyze, and deal with risks. It's that structured approach that builds trust and confidence with everyone. Your customers, your partners, your regulators, proving that you're actually managing security, not just crossing your fingers. And this whole idea of risk management brings us right back to that quote from the beginning. See, an ISMS is a strategic decision because it's meant to be woven into the very fabric of the business, not just bolted on as an afterthought. Yeah, an ISMS is never, ever a one-size-fits-all thing, and this slide shows you exactly why. The standard actually forces you to shape the system around your company's unique situation, its goals, its specific security needs, its existing processes, even its size and structure. Think of it less like an off-the-shelf product and more like a custom-tailored suit. So here's what that journey looks like. First, you establish the ISMS based on those unique needs we just talked about. Then, and this is so important, you integrate it directly with your business processes. It can't live in its own little IT silo. From there, you scale it to fit. And finally, it becomes the yardstick for assessment for both your internal teams and external auditors to check that you're doing what you say you're doing. Okay, building on that idea of integration, let's talk about one of the most powerful features for any modern company, compatibility. See, this standard wasn't designed in a vacuum. It's built on a special structure that lets it sync up perfectly with other management systems. The magic behind this is something called the high-level structure, or HLS. A lot of us veterans still call it Annex SL. You can just think of it as a master blueprint for all modern ISO standards. It forces them all to have the same structure, the same core text, and the same definitions. It means standards for quality, for the environment, and for security are all speaking the same basic language. So what does that actually mean for you? Well, this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the old way. separate, siloed systems. That means disconnected processes, tons of duplicated paperwork, and really expensive separate audits. But on the right, thanks to that harmonized structure, you get one integrated system, a shared framework, streamlined docs, and the chance for way more efficient combined audits. It's a huge, huge leap forward. So the bottom line is pretty clear. If your organization needs to comply with more than one ISO standard, you don't have to build and maintain a bunch of different systems anymore. You can build one single integrated management system that checks all the boxes at the same time. For anyone working in governance, risk, and compliance, GRC, this is an absolute game changer. All right, let's bring it all home and focus on the 2022 edition we're breaking down today. After everything we've talked about, what are the key changes you really need to know? So first, just a little context. This is the third edition of the standard. It replaces the old 2013 version. It also rolls in some formal corrections that were issued back in 2014 and 2015. And, of course, it comes from our expert friends over at Subcommittee SC27. But here it is. This is the single biggest change in this edition. The text has now been fully aligned with that harmonized structure we just spent all that time talking about. This really completes the transition to that integrated model. It also lines up perfectly with the revised controls in ISO 27002, which was also updated in 2022. So now the requirements and the guidance are totally in sync. And so we end right here with this question. We've taken apart the what and the why of the standard. It gives you the blueprint. It gives you the requirements. But like we said at the very beginning, this is a strategic decision. The real work isn't just about taking boxes. It's about how your organization is going to bring these ideas to life. I hope this deep dive was helpful for you. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.